talk about how to get started with exercise 1.8 in the QGIS map design book. So the first thing that you're asked to add is the Seattle neighborhoods. And this is under the miscellaneous folder for the data that you downloaded, and then Seattle neighborhoods. I'm just going to take that and drop this down into my map. And when I drop it, it's prompting me for the map projection that it's in. This is in the state plane, Washington State North coordinates. You can search, if you didn't know that, and it might not show up on yours, I already brought this in, but you can either search by typing in Washington, or you can also type in this EPSG number 102348. And it should come right up. Then you're just able to select that and say, okay. This puts it in the right map projection and just makes everything easier once we get going here. Now, the other thing we want to have in addition to the neighborhoods, because this is going to tell us where the hole appears in our cloudy mask, is we want to also have on a satellite image. Now, what they suggest here is to go under plugins and manage and install plugins, and then they ask you to look for this QMS plugin, QMS. I already have it installed. If you didn't, you could install the plugin. I could uninstall it and reinstall it, but let's just keep it installed. It has a little symbol like this, Quick Map Service, and once it shows up, it should show up right here for you. And what we want to do is we want to add a data layer from the Quick Map Service. So I'm going to go ahead and just click Add. I'm going to search for a layer, and then here is where we can search the Quick Map Service. Right down here, search Quick Map Service. So I'm going to put in, they suggest that we search for digital globe. And that does show up, but if we bring in this layer, as you'll see, it's actually not going to, oops, I misspelled it. It's not going to overlay anyway, so don't even worry about what I'm doing here. But there is digital globe layers. I think it's better to bring in the Google satellite layer. From the map service, and it's searching for that. And then I'm just going to bring in just the straight satellite, not the hybrid, which is what it would look like on a map. And I'm going to add it into my map. And now we can see everything's looking pretty good. We have our Seattle neighborhoods where they should be. They're sitting right on top of a satellite image. The next thing I'd suggest is the area we're going to focus on is right in here. So I would go ahead and zoom in on that area, because in the next step, it's going to ask you what extent you want to make your random points, which is the thing that's going to turn into clouds. So anything like this would be fine. And then the next thing we're going to use is a tool. If we go under processing and then open our toolbox, it should open up over here. And the thing that we're going to look for is this tool here called Random Points and Extent. If you type in your search engine, your search bar here, it should bring it up once you type in random or random points. And I'm going to double click on this to open up this tool. And it's going to ask for our image extent. That is the extent we're currently seeing. That's why we zoomed in on this area here. So I'm going to use the canvas extent. It wants to know how many random points we want to put in there. I'm going to put 10,000 in, as suggested in the directions. It knows it's in Washington State plane coordinates. That's good. And we're going to open this file after we run the algorithm. We don't need to permanently save it, but we can do that later if we want. And I'm going to click Run here. And we can see that I put 1,000 points in. And you can see if I zoom out, it's only put it into that area of zoom. It says brown dots, but what we're going to do instead, just to kind of get a look for the cloudy effect, is we're going to symbolize those as kind of light gray circles. And if I go in here, it's a simple marker. Let's just get rid of the outline completely. Transparent stroke for an outline. No pen. The fill color, they recommend it making it a very light gray, which can be specified. You can either adjust that or ED. And it's this one here. We can see that that's a light gray color. If we want to make it even lighter gray, we could adjust this upward, and it'll make it even closer to white. I'm going to say OK there. So and I'm going to say OK. And I forgot to set the size of the points. So what they ask for the size is to no longer use the 2 millimeter size, which is what it would be on a map of this scale, but to use map units and make it, I believe it was 1,000 meters. And just to make sure, I'm going to say meters as scale, 1,000, and say OK. And that'll make these much larger, but not huge. So now we have an area like this. And if we also want to change the transparency of those points, we can go in here and change the opacity. Say we do it at 60%. And we can kind of start seeing around the edges that it's just getting a little opaque where we can see through at least one layer. But these are random points, so so that's just the kind of effect we're going to get. So if we took off this for a minute, what we would see is we just have like a bunch of white circles over here. And we can make those as good or any way we want. But what we're going to do is we're going to use this layer here in order to, for a couple of selected neighborhoods, we're going to put a hole in the clouds in this area here. So we're going to vary the size of those points so that they don't have any size here, and then they get bigger and bigger as they go around in this direction here. Now, in order to do that, you're going to have to paste or copy a script that's included here. And let me show you where you do that. You'll go under random points once again, which all look like this. And if you right click here and go under its properties, when you get down to the color here for the simple symbol, currently it's set to this, but you're going to put in a little formula for the size. And you're going to edit here. And this is where you're going to put the formula over here. So you'll either have to copy and paste it from your textbook if you have the digital copy, or just type it in if you have the paper copy of the book. And once you've done that, then you'll see a hole in the cloud. So let me just show you what it looks like afterwards. Your final map, I'm going to turn this one off and show you one I already did. It should look something like this. And let me turn off the Seattle neighborhoods. So you should now get something like this. You want to have like the nice effect where it really does look cloudy. You might want to play with how much opacity you want to use, make it more or less opaque. And you can see that it'll kind of open up a bigger area, make it maybe look more like soft clouds. But once again, I think the key is getting that formula into here, properly put into here, so that you can have this effect of opening up this hole in the First Hill neighborhood and the Yesler Terrace neighborhood. And these instructions are explained in detail in the book, and I'd advise you to have a look at that.